essentially life. What is life? Well, why are you here? Because of one simple thing: love. Love is why you are here. All right. Hello, beautiful and amazing humans. Welcome back to the series Light in the Darkness podcast, Into the Deep. Are you ready to go into the deep? Today's episode, we are going to talk about life. Why not start right there? So, what is life? I guess that's a question for you and me to answer on our own. Let's talk about that. Some of us believe in a creator. Some of us believe in God. Some of us believe in a source. Some of us believe in nothing. That, there's nothing that created us. It just happened accidental. Let's talk about that. Let's challenge thoughts. Let's go deep. Let's talk about life, existence. Let's figure that out. Of course, the series of current events or events that have happened in your life or my life or, on a global level, it can be very defeating in the sense of faith, in the sense of believing in a creator or believing in a source or a God. I know a lot of times we can, probably say, what the heck? How would this happen if there was a God? Well, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to challenge, every aspect of the way we think. So, first of all, life. Okay? You exist, I exist, right? And we came to existence, this is very important, against our own free will. A lot of us forget that simple fact. So look, we're going to slow down and we're going to dissect every aspect of life and existence. God. What is God? Is God some, manifest being that exists in some unseen place? Is God some spiritual essence? Is God myself, my inner self? Is God, what is that? Okay. Now, let's start right at just believing in nothing. Okay. First of all, you exist, I exist, all against our own free will. We also will come to perish, will come to pass in this manifest physical existence, world, experience, whatever you want to call it, against our own will. So we're not going to talk about the life at this moment between that timeline, existing and not existing. But based on those two events right there, we have to intellectually take a step back and agree that factually this is true. We as humans, as creation, or as existence, we exist against our own free will. And we will also die, come to perish, pass away, pass through, against our own will. Okay? This is a fact. So that's going to give you a lot of hints to the ability to understand and perceive all things. Now, we can agree that we do not have free will. And another layer to that is that when you have come to an existence, you also do not get to choose where, how, what, why, when. So these are all against your own free will. So do we really have free will? Let's think about that for a second, and we're going to come right back there. Okay, now some of us believe in nothing. Let's challenge that. Everything in this world that exists, that is, comes in pairs, comes in opposites. So death and life, darkness and light, truth and lies, left and right, and the list goes on. The definition of God is a creator, the creation, the creator of the created. And the definition of the created is the created. Very simple. So God and the created, the creator and the created are also one whole. God cannot be God without the created, and created cannot be the created without God. So we actually have to start identifying that everything exists as a pair. Nothing can be true without its opposite. And this is going to allow us, as we get into diving into the deep, to start understanding this beautiful, harmonious, incredible, amazing, signature of creation, and start understanding why things are. Okay, I believe in nothing. Well, what's the opposite of nothing? Something, right? So nothing is undefined without something, and therefore something and nothing are the same. So the yin and the yang, everything is one. So now at this point, it's very extremely difficult to deny that we exist and we were and are created. Okay, whether you believe in the Big Bang and what happened there, let's dig deeper. So we're created, essentially something created, something gave life to existence, to nature, to animals, to humanity. And so this happened all against the will of all creation. That's something that's very important to identify and understand and comprehend that. So take a moment to see that. So if you choose to believe in nothing, in fact, you believe in something, because something and nothing are the same. Are you with me? So now, whatever you want to call this omniscient creator as, many people call this God, right? Let's call this God, the source. That's what I like to say, just to give a little bit of help. Let's dive into the source, okay? We look at, a light bulb. If you look at a light bulb, you could just stop and take a look and, just think about it. Where does that light bulb come from? Where does that light bulb shine from? Look at the stars. Where does the stars shine from? Look at the lamp. Look at the stoplight. Guess what? Whether it's, wireless, today we call it Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or the list goes on, or a corded. And essentially, we trace that light back through its cord to a source, and you'll find a power box. You'll find some sort of power generating source. All right? So without that source, that light bulb cannot exist. And essentially, the source works the same way. So the source is the source of creation, projecting the light from itself. Again, something and nothing are the same. Therefore, we are the created. Now, the created and God are one pair, right? God is not defined without the created. So let's identify that. So life, free will. Are we really free? Well, you never raised your hand and said, "Hey God," or "Hey Source, please create me and create me into this family and create me at that time and create me this way." Nope. Therefore, you actually do not have free will. Wow. This is ironic. Well, what are my thoughts? Like, what's going on in my head? Like, who is that then if I don't have free will? What's going on? Essentially, we also do not have the choice of death. You can't live forever. Right? Now this is where we look at certain things like spirituality. Let's not forget that the majority of humanity believe in an afterlife, believe in some sort of religion, some sort of infinite place. Okay? How can we look at the facts? Look at other creation. I like to use the analogy of the butterfly. The butterfly. Does the butterfly know that it is a butterfly? When especially the butterfly becomes the butterfly through phases, much like humanity, much like a human being. Do you as a human know what tomorrow will bring? Could you as a human potentially just be in a cocoon, much like a butterfly, essentially after this cocoon, this shell, this human shell, could you possibly also be a butterfly type figure? We start off with the merging of a semen and an egg. And then we become encased in, especially today, there's advanced ways of technologically, these, kind of scientific type of wombs, the mother's womb, miraculous, very beautiful, incredible journey of this first phase of humanity, and then birth of the infant, which then transforms into this, this toddler, teenager, adult, elderly, and then the passing, right? But is the passing the end? Okay. The end and the beginning, you do not have free will. Do you have free will within this window? Do you? Okay, let's challenge that. So now we live individually. We've now inherited a pair of shoes that we were not able to choose, right? What I mean by that is that I wasn't able to say, okay, I want to go live in this multi-billion-dollar family and have an easy life, or, you know what, go make me an athlete, or, no, that's not how it works, right? So we have to agree that whatever created us against our will, all right, and will take us back, or we will face death against our will. We also were unable to control whether it was as I said earlier in the introduction, a refugee camp, or a struggling family in a difficult area in the world, or a family that's very wealthy, and that list goes on. Now, within this timeline, do we have free will? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that on one of the next episodes. But in the meantime, let's agree to the facts. How do we comprehend what life really is? What the purpose of life is? Existence. Within the confines of creation, we do have a certain capacity as human beings to think to a certain capacity, to have physical capacities, to dream, to inspire, to invent, and that list goes on. We are created by an intricate system of molecules and cells and DNA and physical manifest things, this incredible body that just, wow, unbelievable, right? Much like the earth, very many commonalities there, 70-80% water, and just this incredible system that works together in unity. However, we have a capacity, right? We have a potential. And this series is meant to inspire that potential. Okay, well, what does this mean? Why did I bring this up, this whole free will scenario? Because we forget that often. We are quick to go into our ego mind, our mind that doesn't see the truth or the facts, which is there for a reason, because again, everything needs its opposite, right? For us to be able to learn, to grow, to challenge. And we forget that. And what happens when we forget that is that we lose the thought process or the ability to understand the truth. Right? The truth is that we truly do not have free will, and we think that we do. But we do within this inner self, essentially the soul, the spiritual self. And we're going to talk about that a lot. The spiritual self is this infinite being that is you. It is the same spirit that you were created with and that you will leave with. And it is the same spirit that is infinite, that is unchanged. The same spirit that was you as an infant, that is you now, that will be you, and that is infinitely you. And that is where your free will lies. And this is what we are going to, journey into the deep in. Okay? We're going to talk about that. And so when we can honor this truth that humanity is truly not free and creation is truly not free, we can start opening up our consciousness, our truth, our third eye. What I mean by that is when you look around and you see nature, you see the sun, you see the moon, you see all things working in perfect harmony together, we can identify that nothing is truly free, that everything submits to the Creator, as we talked about, including ourselves. What do I mean by that? Well, your breath, for one. You breathe without even thinking. Your body submits. Your body submits to this necessity of the sustenance of life, breathing, water, food, the sun, right? Free will. Okay, so a human can choose to judge a situation like a criminal, let's put that in quotations, or perhaps a behavior or something like, for example, the war in Ukraine, war in Syria, all those things. We can judge that as a human, and we can say that's chaos, that's terrible, that's bad, that's evil. Well, that's judgment. And this takes away from our true ability to see this factual, truthful event or situation or happening, as Alan Watts, the great philosopher, would say, the happening of all things. We spoke about the human body. If you look at the inner of the human body, within the human body, cells gobbling each other up for survival. But when you zoom out, you see this human body, this shell that's beautiful and harmonious and incredible. And so if we are able to open the third eye to see the universe the same way, even though there's war and chaos, poverty, hatred, darkness, oppression, etc., you might perceive it as yourself, just the first person point of view as all these negative things. However, we chose to judge, which is now takes us to that ego mind that moves us to this untruth. And what I'm inspiring you to do is to become the bird, or to become above that, and just to become the ability to just observe facts, factual. So something that may appear chaotic to the first person is actually harmonious to the creator or to the bird or to the nature or to all those things. If you're with me, right? So you zoom out and you see something, wow, what is this? This is incredible. Okay, so this in itself is already one of the first layers to your freedom. When you choose simply, and as scripture tells us, thou shalt not judge. This now we can challenge. Wow, thou shalt not judge. Let's challenge that. If you choose not to judge, immediately you become free because you don't actually know what's happening. I mean, you didn't create any of this, right? You don't have control over any of this but you. And in another layer, that same, let's say, judged quote unquote criminal or oppressor or whatever you want to call this person is receiving the same sunlight, the same air simultaneously as you are. That means that the creator, the source, nature in that moment, in this infinite moment of life, of existence of all things, the lion, eats the buffalo and nature continues to coexist and exist. But they all share within these same algorithm of unconditional life, of the will of the creator. And this is when I say we submit to this will, right? Because you need these things. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you murder 100 people or if you go to war or you do something in your mind or others people's minds, the humanity, the manifest world, the judged mind of whatever a criminal or evil would be. You still get to share in this air, in this love, in this unconditional love of existence, right? So reflect on that. That's extremely important. And the choice is, do you want to be free by removing that layer of judgment from every situation, including yourself? This itself invites freedom into you. And now we can start looking at things factually, and we can start challenging things like, scripture, religion, science, all those things. And so essentially, life. What is life? Well, why are you here? Because of one simple thing: love. Love is why you are here. Okay? If all these things were so terrible, well, then why are you here? Right? Something is keeping you alive. Now, is that you or is that something else? Well, that's for you to answer. Love. Let's talk about that. Life, love, and truth. So what is the purpose of life? First of all, like we said, we can agree, your free will was never there because you exist against your free will. You exist because of love, and we're going to prove that through this series. You are still here because of love. Love for life, love for others, love for family, love for children, love for the experience, love for materials, love for existence. And essentially every single thing that exists submits to love. So that could be a hint to what the source is. Well, that doesn't make sense because why are people going to war and why is there chaos and murder and the list goes on? Well, like we said before, what is the opposite of love? Hatred, right? And can one exist without the other? No. So the light and the dark define each other. Love and hatred define each other. And if everything submits to love, well, let's figure that out. Why are there countries, why are there people that go and murder or create oppression or chaos? Well, there's many reasons. Let's figure out the history. Let's remove time from the equation and let's figure out the history of what I was describing in my own journey. Trauma and learned behaviors. If you look at creation like essentially nature, a plant, and if you were to trample on that plant and you were to not give it any sunlight or water, would that plant grow? No. It's pretty straightforward, right? It would grow up in darkness. And so that's a bit of a hint to that question right there. Now also, if you're not at the top of this food chain in the manifest world, and you have this trauma of living in the dark, of this oppressed, war-torn, historical trauma of hate and all these things that as a human being in creation, the want and need of survival. Well, first of all, what is that innate, absolute want and will do anything, even start war or beef up our defenses to exist? Well, what's the purpose of that? Is it not love? Love for what? Well, the love and the desire to exist infinitely, the love and the desire to exist in this world, And if we are in control of the essentially manifest world, manifest society, manifest system, this system of humanity now within this human created, source inspired, essentially system, technological, social, digital world that now exists. If you're at the top of that, in your mind, in your ego mind, you are in control. You are now the hunter and you are not the hunted. And so this also gives us a hint to why things are happening in the world. And so because of love, because of your deep, absolute necessity and need and desire to exist, it means that you submit to love. Wow, how ironic. So now this is starting to make sense. Okay, well, if my existence is being threatened and my ability to not stay at the top is being threatened, well, I need to be an aggressor. I need to be an oppressor. Are you with me now? Right? I need to be at the top of the food chain, the king of the jungle, the lion. And so now we can see the inspiration of the oppressors. It's not as dark as one would think, although the behavior is extremely dark. However, as we dig deeper into this, we will also come to the terms and understanding that life also has a toll. For every decision, every choice, every energetic exchange, karmic exchange, there is an instant exchange within the spirit that we talked about. So life, why? Why would you exist? Because of love. Let's challenge that, which we will. What is the purpose of life? Well, because of love. Let's challenge that. And what is your purpose? Because of love. And so, for whatever reason you exist, and you still choose to exist, no matter how chaotic the world is, or how oppressive it is, or how dark your life is, there's something within you choosing to keep you alive. Could be fear. Fear of what? Fear of losing life. Life is love. Of course you'd be afraid of that. Fear of all of a sudden the TV being turned off and unplugged and never turning on again. Well, because life is incredible. Life is a gift. You've been created against your own will. You've been granted a gift against your own will. Now we're in this manifest world, in this system, and which can be perceived to be dark, dangerous, scary. But instead, we can choose to be the third eye, the bird that observes the nature that just hovers above and on the sideline and watch and observe and see the truth, see the reality. Oh, what's that emotion? What's that emotion? What's that emotion? Emotions are the greatest compass. Feelings and understanding that all things submit to love, which is you, which is all, which is everything. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why is there chaos? Why is there hatred? Why is there destruction? Well, we answered some of those questions before, and we're going to continue to answer those as we get into this journey of the deep. However, every opposite defines the other. Okay, so first of all, love is the source. This, you can't stop it. So every action actually comes from love. Imagine love being the power box, but every single action from that power box is love. Can the result of this over time, let's say there was a lot of, you've seen a hose where the hose is all tangled up and the electric wire could be tangled up perhaps from trauma, from war, from, certain things where you're going to go put protective layers and you're going to try to straighten that cord out, but there's going to be some darkness along the way. Let's look at the light bulb. Okay, you and me were light bulbs. Verbally abused, oppressed, war, trauma, losses, shock, hatred, bullying, etc. The need to survive. You have a choice in that moment. Do you forgive? Do you extend compassion and empathy to the oppressor, to that who is also stuck in that traumatic state? Or do you choose to allow yourself to become dirty in the sense of a little bit of darkness being thrown on that light bulb? So essentially, if you look at an infant is a light bulb, okay? And over time, things will happen. It happens to all of us, right? Trauma, challenges, life, survival. And we can choose to allow that dark to latch on to the exterior of that light bulb. Let's be very careful here, because within every single person, every single essence, look at an infant for proof, is a light. But the bulb is the human shell, the ego, all of that. Now, do you choose to allow it to get a little bit of dirty splatter here, a dirty splatter there, dirty splatter there? What happens is, that's it, I'm going to be angry at the world, chaos, destruction, oppress, manipulate, control, because I'm going to stay at top of the food chain. Well, ironically, this this thought process ends up hurting the self. Okay, and what I mean by that is we end up losing our balance into the external world. And it's easier said than done. How could you forgive an oppressor or a bully or a terrible situation such as loss of life or worse, and torture, etc.? And how could you not allow your light to dim or to be dulled or be dirtied? And I say that carefully because within that light, you are pure, you are light. Nothing can change that. And so what happens? This cycle can continue, the cycle of hatred and judgment and ego and fear and all those things. And that's on the outside of the light bulb, which you can simply clean off. And we're going to teach you how to do that. So this is how that cycle continues. Okay? And the choice has to be able to see the truth. So what's going on in the world? Okay, well, let's see the history. Let's see the facts. Let's see the truth. Let's see what's going on. Why is this happening? If there is a God, why is this happening? Well, what is the opposite of peace? War, chaos. What's the opposite of love? Hatred. What is the opposite of death? Life. What is the opposite? So you see, within this capacity of free will that has been granted to all creation, this free will, which is the relationship with the self, within the spirit, with God, with the source, that is what we perceive, very important, perceive that we have control over. And within this perception, this choice, this ability to choose, we are then making an exchange, if you will. So if you choose hatred, if you choose to lie, to live in lies, all that stuff, you actually inherently exchange your choice with the spiritual hell, which is truth. You see, it's not a physical destination, hell or paradise. It's a spiritual destination. It's the inner destination. It is the experience of the now of the self. And so if we choose to exchange kindness or love or truth with our energetic external projection or with whatever we choose at that moment, that is what we have control over within the self, that relationship within the self. You think it's an external relationship, but in fact, your soul, your mind, your body, your soul knows its truth. And we know when we're judging, we know when we're choosing hate or fear, and we know when we're choosing love, kindness, forgiveness. We're going to talk about that too, that energy exchange, and how we can also define and factually prove and challenge scripture and religion and spirit. And let's see if this is true. Well, if I forgive someone, is it true? Do I gain peace? We're going to challenge those things. So stay tuned. Life. You exist because of love. All right. That is why you are here. And that is how it is not something that I can just describe to you. Oh, you're going to love this flower. You're going to love that food. It's something that you need to experience on your own. Okay. And spirituality, religious tells us, well, you're an infinite being. So just pretend, just imagine, just pretend for fun, just like most of the world does, like, I don't want to say word pretend, but has faith, because we essentially do not know what happens after the manifest experience of death. But just pretend, the butterfly was a bit of a hint, and many other creation of nature and animals are actually many hints of this transformation. The butterfly doesn't know when it's a cocoon that it will be a butterfly. Just like the human, the human doesn't know it's going to be some spiritual butterfly light that now becomes this infinite creation that had to experience life and death and the fear of death to value life, because the manifestation of death and loss creates sorrow, and the depth, this infinite depth and value of life and missing loved ones essentially, creates an infinite value to life. And also now the perception, the ability to observe, experience loss and chaos and oppression and pain and just the need to survive and to exchange energy and emotions within this manifest experience has now defined this infinite butterfly, this human butterfly, whatever that is. Just pretend. Now we look at war, we look at death, we look at loss as something beautiful. Because what has happened is we forgot that we don't have free will. We also forgot that we as humans do not have control over anything except for ourselves. We also forgot to see the truth. What is the truth? The truth is facts. The truth is something that within nature, the human being is able to align itself with this truth that, wow, I breathe with nature and the sun shines with me and I shine with it. And I want to choose to be one with that nature. with that nature that doesn't judge, but just is, just exists, just is light, just is air, just is oxygen, just is water. And how can we get back there? Because this is what is going to give us peace and truth and harmony. And this is what's going to free you. Because what's better than being free? And choosing to control my actual reality of being one with nature, one with the source, one with love, because that is what I am. Well, if I wasn't there, then I wouldn't exist. Because, man, the world can be a dark place, but for some reason I still want to live. Why? Because I love my life. I love my work. I love my friends. I love my parents. I love my family. I love my child. I love everything. Even though there's chaos and destruction and all these things, there's something there that makes me want to live, because I am scared shitless to see what's on the other side. However, we have scripture, we have religion, we have all these things guiding us, these manuals guiding us, and these other things that we can rely on, that we're going to challenge in this series to see, is this factual? Is it true? Is it real? Can we actually figure this out instead of being indoctrinated or being preached at? Can we just challenge everything factually? And that's what I'm going to do with you, and that's what we're going to do with each other. And we're going to find ways to do the work, to heal, to forgive, to find peace, and to control what we can control. Even though the world appears to be in a very dark and chaotic place, essentially, we're going to do that together, this journey together. And so now I want you to reflect on life and existence and love, and the fact that you were willed into existence by the creation of love, both physically and spiritually. The act of love, sexual intercourse, love, physical love, spiritual love, all those things. These are many hints to your existence. Look at the infant, and what do you see? What do you see? Innocence, pure love, truth, all those things. So reflect on that. Why do you exist? Why is there, my company's downtown Victoria, and, we do a lot of work, like I said, with homelessness. But why is there hundreds of homeless people and just more? It's growing more. And why is there war-torn countries, and why is there refugee camps? Why are they choosing to live? Why is there oppressors and people who try to control the manifest physical world? However, they exist. They continue to exist. They continue to want more and more and more. Because why? Because it's deeper than just money or material. It's about power. It's about the ego choosing to think that if I'm on top of the food chain, I'll be able to control things. Well, surprise, one day you're going to realize that you're dying or you're dead. And just like everybody else, you couldn't control this physical world. And in fact, the air gives you permission to breathe, not the other way around. And so life is actually controlling all things. The world is controlling all things. Nature is controlling all things. God is controlling all things. Now we have to just choose to observe, to see the facts, to see the truth, to be able to understand and identify and comprehend what is going on. And so life is love. And that is you. That is the journey of you. And for you to be able to understand and comprehend and realize, oh, wait a minute. That's why there's war and chaos. Well, what's the truth here? Oh, that's why there's hatred. That's why I'm feeling guilty. That's why I'm feeling these things. That's why I needed to make those mistakes, because this now defines everything. This is why I had trauma in my past. Well, now that makes sense. Now I understand what God is doing, because wait a minute. We are told that this life is just a passing through, that this life is a cocoon. Wow, surprise, how ironic was that? I chose to live in a life full of lies and darkness and untruth and hatred and anger, and I was just frozen. I was an oppressor. I was trying to control these materials. But I couldn't, because, in fact, they controlled me, and I wasn't free. Or I chose to be free. I chose to love. I chose to be kind. I chose to have empathy, and I lived a peaceful life. And now I understand that as the butterfly human that I am, living in the infinite realm that I do. Wow, how incredible was that? Oh my goodness. And now I'm connected with all my loved ones infinitely, which is part of the God body or the source or nature or all these things. So we have to reflect on this truth. Have we lost ourselves in this world? Have we lost ourselves in the ego mind? Have we lost our balance of suggesting that humanity controls anything? Have we lost our balance of thinking that materials are more valuable than humans? Well, let's get back to the truth that we are the most important and valuable things that exist. And the world is imbalanced because we have lost our balance and our truth, which is to go inside and to be able to get to know the self and to see the truth. And the first biggest thing that I challenge you to do is work on not judging. Just be an observer. Be the bird. That'll set you free very quickly. And choose to pretend even if you can't. even if you're having a very hard time, choose to pretend that, wait a minute, this world is like a virtual reality. Just like the Matrix or the Oculus or whatever video game you want to call it. I'm passing through, I'm experiencing an experience to understand existence, to understand life, love, truth, all things. Whether I am living in my truth or not, because the opposite of truth is lies, and therefore you need both to exist simultaneously, and everything is connected and everything defines each other. And the oppressor and the oppressed also define each other, and the quote-unquote good, the quote-unquote evil, the hero, the nemesis, the quote-unquote evil, which also the yin and the yang are also become one, and therefore everything defines each other, and therefore we can look back and say, thank you pain, thank you trauma, thank you this experience that, wait a minute, the light bulb came on. Oh, I thought I was dead, but I'm just this infinite butterfly, and now all of a sudden, whoa, that was embarrassing. Why was I fighting about who put my shoes somewhere this morning, or, somebody paying me back a certain amount of money. Wow, did I get lost into this virtual reality that was actually just an experience to identify and understand what I am, which is human, which is love, which is powered by the source of love. And we're going to talk about that. So thank you so much for joining me. If you guys have any questions or you want to talk about anything, let me know. All the information is in the underneath area. Please look there. Follow the page. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, our website. We got a blog going, and I'd love to answer any questions and continue this podcast, this journey where we can share and we can work together to learn about life. And we'll use scripture, religion, talk about current events, what's really going on, and remember that this is a passing through. So for a moment, just step out of yourself and observe and realize that every single thing has a definition, and that every single thing defines love and existence. And maybe just make belief, if you can't, that you're an infinite being. And wait a minute, I'm getting sucked into this physical world and I'm being distracted by all these physical things. But what's the lesson here? What am I learning? I couldn't define love before, but now I can, because of the pain and the hatred and the suffering and all those things. And I'm so grateful to exist, and I'm so grateful for peace, and I am now more empathetic and compassionate, and I want to choose to be free. Because it's not fun being weighed down by materials and anger and hatred, and that's the exchange, and we're going to talk about that. So sure, people can choose to oppress or control or try to control things that they cannot, because once you try to control nature, humans are a part of nature. Guess what? That backfires very quickly. So who's free? I urge you to go watch the cartoon Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin, one of my favorites, and this story itself will help you put yourself at ease to this exchange that we talked about, of one being free and one being the oppressor, the want for material power, infinite power. And ironically, Jafar chooses to become this infinitely powerful being and then gets stuck in the lamp because he becomes the genie, and the genie, Aladdin uses his final wish on freeing the genie, which is the true gift, which is beautiful. So think about that. Right? So if we're sitting in our own selves and we're filled with chaos and anxiety and PTSD and all these things, well, I'm going to show you and teach you and guide you that through my own experiences, through my living proof, you are capable of healing yourself, every aspect of yourself, and finding freedom and paradise within yourself, and us working together to transform this world to a beautiful place. Thank you for your time. Reflect on that. Is life not love? Reflect on that. Why do you exist? Reflect on that. Everything does submit to love. Everyone's actions submit to love. That is why everything is happening the way it is, and everything is connected, and everything defines each other. So see why you had these traumatic experiences, or why this is happening in the world, and identify what the opposite is and allow it to give you value in those things. So thank you again for listening. Please share, follow. All the information is below. Spread the word. Let's work on this together. Lots of love. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and can't wait to see you on episode 2.